Yeah, so I've kind of looked at all this stuff and talked to Wendy about it and Andy Yan, who's our planner. And I just wanted to say, first of all, I'm not going to talk as long as Jessica, so you'll have lots of time, hopefully. Wendy and I were sitting upstairs on Friday, and we were looking out. It's a beautiful day, and we were looking at the blue sky from the second floor from our office. And Wendy said, oops, if this goes through, we won't be able to see the blue sky. So the first thing I wanted to say is that the three of us, Wendy and I and Andy, who's our personal planner at CAP, we were really horrified when we saw this document. We've been telling the planners for months that it's not fair for the city to decide what height the Downtown Eastside building should be if there's no plan for the area and if we don't know what the buildings are going to be used for. And so we urge everyone here and everyone in the Downtown Eastside to speak up as loudly as they can against having more height added to the Downtown Eastside before we get a local plan that low-income residents agree to. So what's wrong with this height review? Okay, the worst part is that the city is even considering allowing 16 sites in the Downtown Eastside to have towers ranging from 15 to 30 stories. Now, their rationale for this, they say, we might be able to get some amenities if we have towers. So what amenity does everybody here want? Well, social housing, right? So if we were really lucky, if we had some governmental subsidy, if the economy was really good, and a developer built, say, 210 condos in one tower, we might be able to get 30 social housing units from that. That's the ratio, right? That's the lowest ratio. And we talked to an architect recently who told us that nowadays developers aren't going to give any social housing as an amenity. So even though we might get 30 low-income housing units, the area in one building, multiply that by 16, okay, we'll get thousands of condos, probably, and a few hundred social housing units. So the neighborhood would be completely overrun with condos, if that's what the buildings are used for. It doesn't say, of course, in this study. So the businesses for upscale people, like stores that sell dog clothes and perfume and fancy furniture, they would start taking over from the social services and the places that serve the low-income folks. The fact is, we can't get enough social housing from condos, and we can't have thousands of condos without overwhelming the low-income neighborhood. Then with property owners knowing that 16 sites are available for heights up to 30 feet, speculation could be rampant. The price of the lots we need for social housing will start increasing. Hotels could start converting to richer residents, and low-income folks could be driven out by rent increases, as well as by feeling really uncomfortable in their own community. The report also suggests in option 2 just an overall density increase, a 10% increase, and we reject this as it will increase property taxes for small businesses and social services and mainly benefits property owners by increasing the value of their property. So much is missing from the study that I don't have time to list it all, but here's some. What would the social and economic impact of the additional height have on low-income residents of the Downtown Eastside? How can we possibly say what our opinion of this is until we know that? There's been no impact study. What are the taxation implications? That's an important question for businesses and social services. Who is expected to live in the new buildings, and will they all be residential? Which places will be darkened by shadows, and how much more traffic will we have? Okay, right now we don't have enough housing, parks, and other amenities in the Downtown Eastside. In exchange for building higher, the city says developers will be expected to give a few crumbs for these amenities that we need. Now they're also saying another amenity is rental housing. But it won't be affordable rental housing. It could be like rental housing that's $900 a month or $1,200 a month, right? So will we be forced to fight to richer residents over whether we get social housing or a park or rental housing? And if the amenity money is used for housing, who's going to fund the needed parks, daycares, and community spaces? And if we get housing, we could lose those. So what should we do? At CAP, we think we've got to say no to the extra height proposed in this review. We don't want to consider any extra height until we have a plan for a low-income neighborhood. And we shouldn't accept any additional height until we have a clear study to show the economic and social impact of the extra height on low-income people. We can go to the rest of the city workshops and say no. We can say no at this meeting. And we can organize and go to City Hall to say no when the planners report to their council. I just wanted to read out some questions for you we had a CAP volunteers meeting on Friday, and the folks there came up with some more questions, and then I'll stop. How many units would be for low-income people of this new height? How much environmental damage will it cause? Can you guarantee it won't take away from the housing we have already? How much is the city willing to get involved in real housing and not just shelters? Will the units be for sale, rent, or social housing? Will you take the Downtown Eastside low-income residents' point of view on that? How much of the light will be gone? We don't have enough housing, parks, or other perks now. How can we handle even more people moving into the area? Will you guarantee social harmony? Will you guarantee that every hotel room will be replaced with housing in the Downtown Eastside? Will we lose the heritage value of the area with more height? So that's our take on it, you guys. Now it's your turn.
Just, if I hold people up one more second, just before we open the mics, I would, and I think I can say with confidence to all of you here, that the Downtown Eastside Residents Association's position is the same as Jean has stated right now. Nobody in this neighborhood should agree to a process that doesn't allow them to understand what the end of the process is. And I think that it's abundantly clear that the Pigeon Park is already the neighborhood's living room, and as most mornings we see people getting busted in Pigeon Park. We see people's belongings being thrown out, and frankly, DERA finds it hard to believe that the folks that have lived in this neighborhood for so long, who have not had adequate housing in this neighborhood, along with adequate anything, will be welcome in the neighborhood. And let's just say it that way, you're not going to be, it's our position, certainly my position, you will not be welcome in the neighborhood. People don't spend $500,000, $600,000 for a condo to have their relatives come and visit and see poverty. And they clean up neighborhoods by cleaning them up by putting rich people or wealthier people into the neighborhood. They don't do it by coming down here and building housing. And if they did, this province and this federal government, instead of buying 24 residential hotels and turning them into social housing, and by the way, therefore denying people their rights under the Residential Tenancy Act, would have actually built buildings. What we're being given by the provincial government, and I realize the city's here, but what we're being given by the provincial government is 100 square foot rooms, if we're lucky, with maybe 2 bathrooms on a floor. That's not social housing. That's what's there now. That's what's going to be there while this new city for the wealthy is built. And I frankly doubt very much that you'll see that replaced. So we're talking about replacing people in the neighborhood, it's our opinion, with people who don't currently live in the neighborhood but would look better in the neighborhood. And I mean that with all respect to Jessica and the others from the city, because city staff works at the direction of city council, and city staff is directed by council to go through a process. And I frankly greatly respect the amount of work that must be to go through that, and I appreciate them coming here today.